Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be about budgeting because when I made my paying for school without any student loans video, everybody wanted a budget video too. So I'm going to be making that today, and I have my guest star husband here, John, because he's the finance guy. And if you follow his channel as well, you'll know. If you don't, go ahead and give it a follow because a lot of the stuff I learned in this video actually came from him, so we want to give him some credit too. So we're going to get right into it, but first I wanted to give you guys a little update on our foster care situation because a lot of people have been asking what's going on with the foster child and if we're going to be getting a foster child soon. As you know, we started the process of becoming foster parents in November 2018. It is now June 2019, and we're still not certified just due to delays. Hopefully we'll be approved in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We'll definitely be approved in July, she said, so that's something to look forward to. We initially had thought we're gonna be approved in May, but stuff happens and things just take longer than you think, so we're eagerly awaiting. We have everything ready and we'll update you guys as soon as we know something. Anyways, that's what's going on with that, so now let's get into the budget. The first thing is going to be having a reason for budgeting. This is so important because if you don't have a reason or a goal or something that you're working towards, you're not gonna stay on track, you're not gonna be motivated to save money because who wants to save money just to save money? And this is something I learned from John because we used to just work and save all of our money with no goals or no reason for doing so. And as we got a little older, he started saying we should have a goal or a reason that we're saving our money so we don't just feel like we're working and getting burned out, and then we can celebrate the accomplishments along the way. Do you have anything
Right, I
to add to that?
definitely think you need to have your why or an emotional attachment to a large goal. Like she said, I guess we're kind of weird. We could save without having that big goal. We just like saving to save. And I guess we had a vague goal. We knew we were saving for something. We just didn't define what that was. And once we defined what that was, we saved even more diligently and more strictly, and it got us more excited about the future and about saving. And we weren't just putting money away just to put money away. So whether that's being debt-free or traveling the world or retiring early or putting your kids through school or buying your mom a car, whatever it is, put an emotional attachment to that goal and to the reason you're saving, and you'll get there much faster and also feel better about doing so. When you put that $500 to the side, it oftentimes doesn't feel that great. And in fact, it could sting a little bit because you could say, I could have bought clothes or shoes or whatever the case may be. But if you say, hey, if I put this $500 away right here and I calculate that, I know within 3 to 5 years, that's going to buy me my dream home or pay off my parents' house or allow me to travel the world. Whatever the case may be, you'll feel better about saving that money.
So that's all we really have to say about setting a goal. Really, the goal is gonna be personalized to you guys. Could be your children's college fund. It could be really anything. So yeah, set a goal, write that down, and remind yourself of why you're doing this. Okay, another thing we wanted to talk about, and this is mostly pertaining to couples, so if you're not a couple, this is probably gonna be important at some time in your life, but right now it's really important to us, and that's communicating about your finances. When you set a budget, you need to communicate your expectations to each other. If you have somebody who's very frugal and somebody who's a big spender, there's gonna be a lot of conflict there. So you wanna establish everything up front, what you expect of each other, and hold each other accountable so it doesn't create friction down the line. And I highly recommend don't hide your finances from your significant other. I've heard a lot of people do this. They have like other accounts or other cards because they want to shop and order stuff, or they order stuff and bring the packages in before the other person gets home to hide it. And I think you're just setting yourself up for fights and failure there, so I don't suggest that at all.
I would say to each their own a little bit on that. Like some couples go their entire lives, I'd say very few, but go their entire lives with separate bank accounts and separate incomes and all that, separate retirements, and never discuss it. I'd say that's really rare and I don't recommend it. Why not put two heads together and work together towards the same goals? I think if you're a couple and you want to make your marriage last anyway, you should have relatively the same goals. You can have different goals as well, but like as far as life and the ultimate outcome, I think you should be a little bit on the same page. But yes, communicate often and regularly, and also have a way to track each other and keep each other accountable.
So we actually still have separate bank accounts, but we communicate so well that that doesn't matter. We've never had a joint account. We basically split the bills for a really long time when we were together. And now we just work together really well with finances, and we don't need to have a joint account because we hold each other accountable with our budgeting and with tracking everything. Like he said, it's gonna be a little different for everybody. Communication is key, and we recommend having weekly or monthly meetings about your finances. If you're just getting started and you have a lot to work on, he usually recommends, I'm speaking for him because I already know what he tells people. I'm giving out all your information.
Thanks a lot. Why don't you just run my YouTube channel too?
He usually recommends that you meet every week and talk about your weekly budget, what you did wrong, what you did great, what you could do better. And later down the line, you say you can meet monthly, right?
Right, I mean, you can get it down to yearly if you really want to. Just the more you stay on top of it, the more on track you're gonna stay. And it leaves less room for error over time. So if you're checking on it weekly, it's very rare that you're going to get a wrong charge or somebody's going to spend money out of turn and nobody's going to know about it. If you let that go like 6 months, it might be too late to fix that.
Exactly. So part of budget setting, the actual budget setting, is to figure out your monthly expenses. I'd say this is like the first important thing you must do when you're creating a budget, because you have to know what your fixed costs are, what you have to spend every month. And some of those things would be like rent, electric, phone bill, insurance, anything that you have to pay every month. And after you figure out all your fixed costs, the stuff that's completely unavoidable, you're gonna wanna figure out your variable costs or your
Indiscretionary.
Your indiscretionary costs, and that's basically stuff that you don't need to buy but that you want to buy, and stuff you could avoid but also might make your life better, so you might want to incorporate that into your budget as well. I'll let Jon talk a little bit about wants versus needs for a second, because that's one thing he's passionate about.
Yeah, so I'll touch on what she just said. You want to get all your fixed costs down, and try to categorize it. Don't just write all these expenses down in a row. It's hard to keep up with. But your rent, electric, all these should have their own category and should be tracked each month. So that way, you're not spending $300 on your electric bill when you really could be spending $150, and you're not tracking it, so you don't know you're spending that much more than you should be. Another thing you can call these people, your cable bill, your insurance company, sometimes even your rent, if you pay a few months up front, and get these bills down. I know, like, if you call your cable company and say, look, I want to cancel, sometimes they'll cut your bill by 25-30%. Same thing with your insurance company, same thing with your cell phone plan. All these can be adjusted, so you want to try to get those down as low as possible. And then move on to your indiscretionary funding, and you can totally control this. Like she was saying, this is your wants versus your needs. I think a lot of people would do much better in their budgets and overall finances if they got down this simple concept of wants versus needs. When you go to buy something, when you go to grab something off the shelf, when you get online to shop, ask yourself, do you want it or do you need it? And if you want it, that's okay. We all have wants. But if it's not a need, it could wait. And just by waiting on simple things, a bunch of little things like that, it could really add up to thousands of dollars a year and put that money towards your real goals, the goals that mean more to you than just a pair of shoes, and that will pay off in the end.
One thing that we do is when we want something that's outside of our budgeted money, we don't go to our savings or something else and take the money. We do something to make that money to be able to afford the thing we want in addition to our budget. So say that we want to go kayaking one weekend. It's going to cost $200 to rent the kayaks to kayak for the day. And we need to pay for gas up there. We need to pay for lunch and dinner while we're there, all that stuff. We didn't plan this out. We just decided we want to do it. Well, we'll find some way to make the money for that, whether I can pick up a shift as a nurse, Jon can pick up some extra clients, we can do some kind of side hustle to make the money. We do all sorts of things.
Rana makes money on the side down in the corner. Don't worry about that.
We won't get into all that just in this video, but we have a lot of different ways to make money. So the purpose of me saying that is just to say that you don't have to give up having extra things, but you do have to be very conscious of your budget. And if you want something extra, you need to work for it, or if it's not worth working for, just skip it until you've met your goals.
Don't be like me. She yells at me for this because I'm really bad at this. I'll do a side job or pick up some extra money or do something, and then she'll be like, okay, we have the money. And I say, no, that's savings. We have to pick up another side job for the money. I'm awful at that. She's like, didn't you just pick up extra money to buy this said item? And I said, no, that didn't count.
Yeah.
So stick to your goal of what you did that side income for, because otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy like I do.
You're a lot better about it now than you used to be. But
Right.
He used to pick up a job to make $80 and then say, oh, okay, we'll go out to dinner. Like that'll be like $30 or something. And then somebody else will call and he'd be like, actually, that's not going to be for this anymore. I'm going to do these other 800 jobs. And then it would all get convoluted and it would all end up going to savings anyway. So it's not necessarily bad, but in the long run, it's probably not sustainable to do that.
Not for most.
So the next thing that's very important, and one of the most important things, is tracking your spending. For accountability, for projecting where you're gonna be and when you're gonna reach your goals, you need to track everything, because if you're not tracking everything, you have no idea what's going on, and your mind is not a reliable tool for tracking your spending because it's very selective. And it will leave out all that little stuff you do and think it's not a big deal, even though it is once you add it all up in the end of the month and you've spent how much on coffee? You did this calculation.
It's a lot.
If you bought coffee every day.
Right.
Yeah, you save like hundreds of dollars a month.
Right, well, it depends on how much coffee you drink. She's just saying to track everything. And the more you track, the more you'll hold yourself accountable for your spending. And this is super important.
And we do spend money on indiscretionary things. We like to go out to eat, grab Chipotle, grab ice cream, grab a pizza, things like that. So,
say ice cream again, because you spend almost all of our money on ice cream.
I like ice cream a lot, okay? So how to track?
So tracking is just this simple. You're gonna get a notebook. I call it the playbook. You're gonna take that notebook, you're gonna write on front of it playbook 2019 or whatever year it is, and then you're going to categorize your expenses and you're going to write in it each and every single day. Every time you get home from work that night, both of you or all three of you or how many ever there is need to write in that book everything you spent. Sometimes hey,
if you're a throuple, this applies to you as well.
Is that a word, a throuple?
Yeah, a couple and a throuple.
I'm not judging anybody. So anyway, you're gonna write all your expenses in that book every day, and then at the end of the week, you're all going to sit down and go over it together and hold each other accountable. You do not want to fight or argue. This is super important. The book should be a happy place, not a mean place. So when you sit down to go over this, I would say, for instance, Rihanna, this week you spent $780 on ice cream. How could we improve on that?
Someone must have stole my card.
Yeah, right. So how can we improve on that? Saying this, you got to stop buying ice cream. This won't work, and get mad. That's never going to work. So do not do that. Work together. Now, if she buys ice cream the next week and the next week at the same rate,
divorce.
Yeah, absolutely, immediately. You just go down to the divorce lawyer and you get a divorce immediately. No, but seriously, maybe some counseling. Something like that. But anyway, you have to figure that out together and work together. So do that with a book. The reason I like the book and not the apps, and Rihanna has her own way of doing it, which is also fine, but I'll talk on mine. With the book and the pen and paper, it ties motion to it, and you are actually physically doing this. So please just get that notebook and keep track of all your expenses, and I think it'll go a long way for you. I know I keep saying couples and thruples and all that, but if you're single, all this applies the same. The notebook, the spending, the tracking, the goal setting, all that applies the same. I just get hung up because we're sitting here as a couple. But if you're single, this works just the same.
Yes, and if you're single, you'll have to hold yourself accountable, which might be a little bit harder because nobody's forcing you to do something, but you also don't have to argue with anybody and you're in control of everything. So
there you go.
Right?
All kinds of upsides to being single.
Yeah, maybe we should try it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye. Just kidding, guys. So, how I like to budget my money is through an Excel spreadsheet. I saw you in the camera. I like to use an Excel spreadsheet to budget my money because it does the math for me, and I still have to physically type everything in there, but it does the math for me. I separate it. I'm gonna actually show you as soon as we're done talking. So you can do whatever method you want. We actually don't agree completely on this because Jon prefers pen and paper and I prefer virtual because I feel like pen and paper.
Virtual?
Virtual, is that the right word?
I think digital. Is it
digital? I prefer digital because I just feel like it's more accessible. You can upload it to your Google Drive, you can access it from your phone or anywhere, and you always have it. I feel like when I mess up on pen and paper and I have to cross it out, I want to start a whole new sheet, but that's probably my own mental hang-up problem. So as long as you're tracking, that's the important part of that. And actually, I'm going to show you my spreadsheet right now, and I'm going to link Jon's playbook video below because he showed you how he sets up his budget book and how he helps his clients set up their budget books if they want to keep it on paper versus digital. So I'm going to link that video below in the description box, and let's go to the computer and see my Excel sheet. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the Excel spreadsheet. I just call it our current budget. As you can see in the bottom left, I organize it by year. So first we have the bills, which I categorize with a note based on what they are. I just put in some examples here for you to see, just so you could get a feel for how I do it. And then down at the bottom, it automatically tows the columns so I can see what my bills are for the month. Obviously, it's not all of our bills. Then we have groceries, gas, eating out, Beamer's expenses, medical expenses, cars, taxes, our travel, which is very important, but we don't get to do it every month. I still leave that on there just in case. Our business expenses, which is a whole separate thing, but sometimes stuff comes out of our personal money and we need to track that. And then other is just for miscellaneous things, if I pick something up from the store or whatnot. Then we have income here, which I'm just gonna put in a random number to show you how this works. I track all of our income over here, and then it totals this down at the bottom. And then if you see over here to the right, it actually carries everything over for the year. So you can see January had $1,975 out in this scenario, and at the end of the year, it totals everything down at the bottom so you can see what you net for the entire year. Then I'm just showing you this whole sheet so you can see how the whole thing looks the same basically. And I just do that throughout the year, try to keep this up to date as much as I can, and it really gives you a good overview of what you're spending, what you could spend less on, and what you're doing well. Hopefully that spreadsheet gave you some insight on how I do my budget, and hopefully it helps you set up your budget as well. I think that's about it for this video.
Yeah, I think final thoughts is set a budget, set a goal, and work towards it. Hold yourself accountable. Be disciplined. I think that's the biggest one here. It's going to take a lot of discipline. I understand all the temptations to spend the money. I'm a huge car guy. She knows this about me. But a long time ago,
cars. to buy but doesn't actually buy them all the
Right.
time.
I've gone in the dealerships before. I can't do it because I know that money that I spend on that car, not only will the car depreciate, but that money could be used to go towards investments and houses and make a return on that investment. Eventually, I need to get to the point and just let go and buy something I really want.
Tesla Roadster 2020.
Right. So maybe. But it's hard for me for now, but it's because I've developed so much discipline, and now it's just second nature to us to save and work towards our goals. It's nothing for us to pass up on a dinner or to not buy that case of beer or buy a super expensive vacation. Like, it doesn't even really cross our minds anymore. We have once.
Right.
But we just are really good at not acting on them anymore.
Exactly. And really, like when we go on vacation, for example, because you guys know we love to travel, even though you haven't seen a ton of that because I started this channel after I started school and ruined our lives. But normally we like to travel a lot, and hopefully we get to go on a trip soon. But we'll stay in a less expensive hotel or even an Airbnb and explore that country and have the same amazing time that we would have if we were staying in a 5-star hotel. Of course, that hotel is probably more comfortable and more luxurious, but really, is it worth spending 5 or 10 times more than we would spend for a cheap Airbnb? But I'm going off on a tangent, but I just wanted to say that there is balance. So maybe we stay in an Airbnb for 8 days and then we stay in the nice hotel for the last 2 days.
Yeah, my closing statements are: if you want to guarantee get into CRNA school or nursing school, if you want to finish school without debt, and if you want to get the highest paying job as a CRNA when you graduate, you need to go subscribe to my channel.
Oh my God. I was wondering what you were gonna say when you said guaranteed to get into CRNA school. I was like, don't say that. Okay, I already showed you his channel in the beginning. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe now because, you know, we wanna help him.
Yeah, 1,000, that's all I'm asking for. And I'm like right there.
Almost there.
It's right there.
Yeah. So subscribe to his channel, and I hope you guys have a great week.
See you later.